Admiral Kexavan stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Sovereign's Wrath, watching the main display screen with growing interest. His 6 arms moved in practiced patterns across the control panels as he studied the readings. Something was out there in the darkness between the stars, something that did not belong. "Report," he commanded, his voice echoing through the bridge. The crew of the Sovereign's Wrath moved quickly to obey. They had served under Admiral Kexavan for many cycles, and they knew better than to keep him waiting. "Admiral, we have detected an unknown vessel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system," reported Navigator Prime Zilthek, his 3 eyes focused on the data streams flowing across his station. "The ship appears to be damaged. Its power signature is weak, and we are reading hull breaches in multiple sections." Admiral Kexavan's main eye narrowed as he studied the image on the screen. The ship was huge, much larger than any vessel in the Velthari fleet. But it looked wrong somehow. The hull was covered in what appeared to be patches and repairs. Thick armor plates had been welded over sections of the ship in a crude manner that made Kexavan's engineer mind cringe. "How large is this vessel?" he asked. "Approximately 2,000 meters in length, Admiral. Much larger than our heaviest dreadnoughts. But the construction appears primitive. Very primitive." Captain Rixtal of the scout ship Crimson Talon appeared on the communication screen. His scaled face showed confusion and curiosity. "Admiral, I am approaching the unknown vessel for a closer inspection. Initial scans show technology that is unlike anything in our databases." "Proceed with caution, Captain," Admiral Kexavan ordered. "We do not know what we are dealing with." The Crimson Talon moved slowly toward the massive ship. As it drew closer, the details became clearer. The vessel looked like it had been through a terrible battle. Burn marks covered the hull. Large sections of armor had been blown away, revealing the internal structure beneath. But what struck the Velthari as most odd was how the ship had been repaired. "Admiral, this is incredible," Captain Rixtal reported. "The damage has been patched with what appears to be salvaged metal. Some of these plates look like they came from completely different ships, different alloys, different construction methods. It is as if they took pieces from many sources and welded them together." "Like a flying scrapyard," commented Navigator Zilthek. Admiral Kexavan had to agree. The ship looked like something a desperate salvage crew might throw together, not a proper warship. Yet its size was impressive, and there was something about its design that troubled him. The weapon ports were larger than anything he had seen before. The engine configuration was unlike any known propulsion system. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel," reported Communications Officer Vel Rain. "Put it through," Admiral Kexavan ordered. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something none of them had ever seen before. The creature on the screen was small and soft-looking. It had only 2 arms, 2 legs, and a single head with 2 eyes. Its skin was pale and appeared thin and fragile. It wore what looked like a uniform of some kind, colored in dark blue with silver markings. "This is Captain Huang Do-hyun of the United Earth ship Indomitable," the creature said. Its voice was strange, with sounds that the Velthari translation system struggled to process. "We are human. We come in peace." The words appeared as text on Admiral Kexavan's screens as the computers worked to translate. Human. A species completely unknown to the Velthari Empire. And this Captain Huang Do-hyun spoke in broken galactic standard, as if he had learned it recently and poorly. "I am Admiral Kexavan of the Velthari Empire," he responded. "Your vessel appears damaged. Do you require assistance?" Captain Huang smiled, showing white teeth. "We appreciate the offer, Admiral. We have had some rough times lately, but we can manage. We are just passing through this system. We do not want any trouble." Admiral Kexavan studied the human captain carefully. The creature looked weak and fragile. Its ship, despite its size, appeared to be barely holding together. The Velthari had encountered many species in their expansion across the galaxy. Most were either quickly conquered or chose to submit to the Empire's superior technology and military power. These humans seemed to fit neither category. They were clearly primitive, yet they had somehow built a ship that dwarfed the mightiest vessels in the Velthari fleet. They spoke of peace, yet their ship was obviously designed for war. "Your ship is quite large," Admiral Kexavan observed. "What is its purpose?" "The Indomitable is a patrol ship," Captain Huang replied. "We keep the space lanes safe for our merchant vessels. Sometimes we run into trouble, but we handle it. A patrol ship." Admiral Kexavan exchanged glances with his bridge crew. If this massive crewed vessel was merely a patrol ship, what did their main battle fleet look like? Where do you come from? Admiral Kexvan asked. Earth, our homeworld. It is about 40 light years from here. We have been exploring and trading in this region for about 50 of our years. Only 50 years. The Velthari had been spacefaring for over 2,000 years. Yet somehow these humans had built ships that rivaled their own in size, if not in sophistication. Admiral Kexvan made a decision. These humans intrigued him. Their technology was primitive, their ship looked like it might fall apart at any moment, and their captain seemed almost pathetically unprepared for real space warfare. But something about the situation felt wrong. He had not become admiral of the Third Fleet by ignoring his instincts. Captain Huang, would you object if we performed a detailed scan of your vessel? For security purposes, you understand. The human captain paused for a moment, then nodded. Sure, Admiral, go ahead. We have nothing to hide. Admiral Kexvan gestured to his sensor technician. Begin full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about this ship and its crew. As the sensors reached out toward the human vessel, Admiral Kexvan felt a strange chill run through his body. These humans seemed too willing to let their ship be examined. Too confident. Too unconcerned about revealing their secrets to a potentially hostile alien fleet. It was almost as if they wanted the Velthari to scan their ship. Almost as if they had something to show them. The sensor data began flowing across the displays, and Admiral Kexvan leaned forward to study the readings. What he saw there would change everything he thought he knew about warfare, technology, and survival in the dark spaces between the stars. The humans had been very careful about what they chose to reveal. And what they were about to discover would haunt the Velthari Empire for generations to come. The sensor beams from the Sovereign's Wrath reached out across space and began to probe the human ship. Admiral Kexvan watched the data flow across his screens with growing confusion. Nothing he was seeing made any sense. Engineer Prime Zeknoth report, he commanded. Zeknoth's 4 hands moved quickly across his control panels, his 3 eyes wide with disbelief. Admiral, these readings cannot be correct. According to our sensors, the human reactor is operating at power levels that should have destroyed their ship days ago. Explain. Sir, their reactor is running at 340% of what our models say their hull can withstand. The radiation levels alone should have killed every living thing on that ship. Yet our life signs show a full crew of approximately 800 beings, all healthy and active. Admiral Kexvan stared at the data. The Velthari were among the most advanced species in the galaxy. Their technology was precise, efficient, and safe. A Velthari reactor operated within carefully calculated parameters. To exceed those limits meant certain destruction. Perhaps our sensors are malfunctioning, suggested Navigator Zilthek. Run a full diagnostic, Admiral Kexvan ordered. Check every system twice. While the diagnostic ran, the sensors continued to probe deeper into the human ship. What they found there made the reactor readings seem normal by comparison. Admiral, reported weapons analyst Korthvel, their propulsion system defies all logic. They appear to have connected an antimatter reactor directly to what looks like a nuclear fusion drive. No species would ever attempt such a configuration. The explosion would vaporize half a solar system. Admiral Kexvan moved to the weapons station and studied the readings himself. The human drive system looked like something a mad engineer might design in a fever dream. Multiple power sources fed into a single engine array through what appeared to be hand-welded connections. Safety systems that any civilized species would consider essential were completely absent. How is this ship still intact? He asked. I have no idea, sir. By every law of physics I know, it should have exploded the moment they activated their engines. The weapons systems were equally baffling. The humans had mounted massive kinetic cannons along the length of their ship. These weapons fired chunks of depleted uranium at speeds that approached a significant fraction of light speed. The energy requirements were enormous, and the recoil should have torn the ship apart. Sir, I am detecting missile bays loaded with warheads that read as modified hydrogen bombs, reported weapons analyst Korthvel. Hundreds of them. Some appear to be enhanced with antimatter triggers. Admiral Kexvan felt a chill run through his body. Hydrogen bombs were crude weapons, but effective. Antimatter-enhanced versions were devastating. The humans had turned their ship into a flying weapons platform that could level entire cities. Captain Rixtal, are you monitoring these readings? Admiral Kexvan asked through the communication system. Yes, Admiral. My sensor officer is having difficulty believing what he is seeing. This human ship appears to be held together by determination and luck, rather than proper engineering. On the main screen, Captain Huang Do-hyun sat calmly in what appeared to be a command chair that had seen better days. The bridge around him looked functional but crude. Control panels had been patched and repaired multiple times. Cables ran along the walls in a way that would horrify any Velthari engineer. "Admiral Kexavan," Captain Huang said, "is everything all right? You have been scanning us for quite a while." "Just routine security checks, Captain. Your ship has some interesting design features." Captain Huang smiled. "We built her tough. She has gotten us through some difficult situations." Lieutenant Commander Park Ji-woo, the human weapons officer, leaned over to whisper something to his captain. Admiral Kexavan's sensitive hearing picked up the words. "Sir, they are scanning our weapon systems pretty thoroughly." "Should I activate the countermeasures?" Captain Huang shrugged. "Let them look, Ji-woo. Maybe they will learn something. Learn something." The word sent another chill through Admiral Kexavan. What could the Velthari, with their advanced technology and thousands of years of spacefaring experience, possibly learn from these primitive humans? The answer came as the sensors probed deeper into the ship's data systems. What they found there changed everything. "Admiral," reported intelligence analyst Marikoth, his voice tight with shock, "the human database contains detailed tactical information on 17 different alien species." 17? "Yes, sir. Complete fleet compositions, weapon specifications, shield frequencies, and battle strategies. The data includes the Korth Empire, the Hegemony of Suns, the Crystalline Collective, and 14 other major spacefaring civilizations." Admiral Kexavan stared at the intelligence officer. The Korth Empire had been one of the most aggressive military powers in the galaxy before they mysteriously disappeared 5 years ago. The Hegemony of Suns had vanished around the same time. The Crystalline Collective had not been heard from in over 3 years. How did they acquire this information? According to the database timestamps, sir, much of this data was gathered through direct combat experience. The files include detailed after-action reports, weapon effectiveness studies, and technological analysis reports. Direct combat experience. These humans had not just encountered 17 different alien species. They had fought them. And from the fact that the humans were still here while many of those species had mysteriously vanished, they had apparently won. "Show me the combat records," Admiral Kexavan ordered. The main screen displayed a series of files from the human database. Admiral Kexavan read through them with growing horror. The humans had not simply defeated their enemies. They had studied them, learned from them, and improved their own technology based on what they had captured. The Korth Empire had possessed advanced shield technology. The human files showed detailed analysis of captured Korth shield generators, followed by reports on how human engineers had reverse-engineered and improved the design. The Hegemony of Suns had developed sophisticated energy weapons. The human database contained blueprints for weapons that combined hegemony energy technology with human kinetic systems, creating hybrid weapons that were more effective than either original design. The Crystalline Collective had mastered advanced materials science. The humans had studied their crystal-based armor and developed new alloys that incorporated crystalline structures into metallic matrices. "Admiral," said intelligence analyst Marikoth quietly, "there is something else. The humans have detailed psychological profiles of every species they have encountered. They study not just the technology of their enemies, but their thinking patterns, their tactical preferences, and their weaknesses." Admiral Kexavan realized what he was looking at. This was not a simple patrol ship crewed by primitive aliens. This was a combat veteran that had fought and defeated multiple advanced civilizations. The crude appearance, the jury-rigged systems, the patchwork armor, it was all functional. It was all designed to work, not to look impressive. The humans had taken the best technology from every species they had fought and combined it into something new. Something that worked, something that was apparently very, very effective. "Sir," asked Navigator Zilthek, "what are your orders?" Admiral Kexavan stared at the human ship on his screen. Captain Huang still sat calmly in his command chair, sipping from a cup of some hot beverage as if he had not a care in the universe. Behind him, his crew went about their duties with casual efficiency. They knew exactly what the Velthari sensors were finding. They knew what the scan results would reveal. and they did not seem concerned about it at all. That fact terrified Admiral Kexvan more than anything else he had discovered. Captain Huang seemed to sense the growing unease of his Veltari visitors. He exchanged a look with Lieutenant Li, then made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Admiral Kexvan," he said, "I think it might be helpful if we showed you how our ship actually works. Would you like to see a demonstration?" Admiral Kexvan felt a chill run through his body, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. "What kind of demonstration?" "Nothing threatening," Captain Huang assured him. "Just a power-up sequence. We will show you how the Indomitable transforms from patrol mode to combat configuration." The human captain activated his communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We are going to show our guests how we do business. Prepare for combat configuration Alpha. This is a demonstration only. I repeat, this is a demonstration only." Operations Officer Yoon Soo-jin, a competent-looking human female, began working at her control station. "Aye, sir. Beginning power-up sequence now." The lights on the bridge dimmed slightly as power was redirected to other systems. Admiral Kexvan could feel vibrations through the deck plates as massive machinery began to move somewhere deep in the ship. "The first thing you need to understand about human engineering," Captain Huang explained, "is that we design everything to be modular and adaptable. We learned early that we never know what we might face out here." Through the bridge windows, Admiral Kexvan could see the ship's hull beginning to change. Metal plates were sliding apart, revealing hidden weapon ports. What he had taken for crude armor patches were actually sophisticated modular panels that could reconfigure the ship's shape and capabilities. "We learned this trick from the hegemony," Captain Huang continued. "They had these beautiful shape-shifting cruisers that could change their configuration for different missions. Took us 3 years to figure out how they did it. Then we made our own version using scrap metal and hydraulics." Engineer Prime Zeknoth watched in fascination as the ship transformed around them. The hull plates moved with precision despite their crude appearance. Hidden weapon systems emerged from concealed bays. The ship was growing larger, more angular, more threatening. "How is this possible?" Zeknoth asked. "The power requirements alone should be enormous. Chief Engineer Choi Minho can explain that better than I can," Captain Huang said. He activated the communication system again. "Minho, could you join us on the bridge? Our guests have some technical questions." A few minutes later, Chief Engineer Choi Minho arrived. He was a stocky human male with grease stains on his uniform and calloused hands that spoke of years of mechanical work. "Admiral Kexvan, welcome aboard," Engineer Choi said. "The captain tells me you are interested in our engineering solutions. Your ship appears to violate several fundamental laws of physics," Engineer Prime Zeknoth said bluntly. Engineer Choi laughed. "Yeah, we get that a lot. The thing is, we do not worry too much about theoretical limits. We worry about what works. If something breaks, we fix it. If it explodes, we build it stronger next time." He led them to a monitoring station that showed the ship's power distribution in real time. "See, most species design their ships with safety margins and backup systems and fail-safes. All that stuff takes power and space. We decided early on that the best safety system is a really big gun. The power flow diagram showed energy routing that made no sense by conventional engineering standards. Multiple reactor types fed into a single distribution network through connections that should have been impossible. We have learned to combine technologies from a lot of different species," Engineer Choi explained. "Korth shield generators, hegemony power conduits, crystalline structural supports, bioswarm adaptive systems. We take the best parts and make them work together." "But the incompatibilities," protested Engineer Prime Zeknoth. "Different power standards, different control protocols, different safety requirements." "Yeah, that is where it gets interesting," Engineer Choi grinned. "We have gotten very good at making incompatible things work together. Usually involves a lot of welding and some creative rewiring." The demonstration continued as the ship finished its transformation. What had appeared to be a damaged patrol vessel was now revealed as a heavily armed warship, bristling with weapon systems. "Weapons Officer Park Ji-woo, could you show our guests the targeting systems?" Captain Huang requested. Commander Park Ji-woo was a serious-looking human male who handled his weapons controls with practiced ease. "Certainly, sir. Admiral Kexvan, what you see here is the result of studying 17 different weapons technologies. The weapons display showed targeting systems that combined multiple sensor types into a single integrated network. kinetic cannons that could fire different types of ammunition depending on the target, energy weapons that could adjust their frequency to penetrate specific types of shielding. The beautiful thing about studying your enemies, Commander Park explained, is that you learn what they are afraid of. The Korth feared kinetic impacts, so they designed their shields to stop energy weapons. The hegemony was the opposite. Once you know what someone cannot defend against, the battle is half won. Admiral Kexvan was beginning to understand the true horror of what he was seeing. The humans did not just fight their enemies. They dissected them. They learned everything about their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. Then they built weapons specifically designed to exploit those weaknesses. Show them the multi-role systems, Captain Huang suggested. Engineer Choi moved to another control panel. This is something we are particularly proud of. Most ships have dedicated systems for different functions. Weapons, life support, propulsion, all separate. We have learned to make our systems do multiple jobs. He began bringing up system displays that made Engineer Prime Zeknoth's eyes widen. The ship's waste recycling system could be converted to produce chemical weapons. The artificial gravity generators could create localized gravitational anomalies when overloaded. Even the food preparation systems had been modified to synthesize combat stimulants. The thing about humans, Commander Park added, is that we do not really distinguish between tools and weapons. Everything can be both depending on how creative you get. Dr. Kim Na-young joined the group and cheerfully explained how the medical systems could also function as biological warfare countermeasures. The ship's communication array could be used for electronic warfare. The navigation sensors could track enemy movements across multiple star systems. We learned early that space is a hostile environment, Dr. Kim said. Not just because of alien species, but because of radiation, vacuum, debris, stellar phenomena. We had to build ships that could handle anything. After a while, we realized that anything includes hostile aliens with advanced weapons. Admiral Kexvan watched the demonstration with growing dread. Every system on the ship had been designed with combat in mind. Not just the obvious weapons, but everything. The humans had turned their entire ship into a weapon. Your vessel, he said slowly, is not just armed. It is weaponized. Every system, every component. Pretty much, Captain Huang agreed. We have found that approach keeps us alive longer. But surely this level of armament is excessive for a patrol ship, intelligence analyst Murkoff observed. Captain Huang's expression grew serious. Admiral, we have learned something important during our time in space. There is always someone out there who is bigger, stronger, and more advanced than you are. The only way to survive is to be more adaptable, more determined, and more willing to do whatever it takes to win. Navigator Prime Zilthik, who had been quietly listening to the discussion, asked the question that Admiral Kexvan was afraid to voice. Captain Huang, if this is a patrol ship, what do your main battle vessels look like? Captain Huang smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Admiral Kexvan, you do not want to meet our battle fleet. Trust me on that. Nobody does. The transformation was now complete. The Indomitable hung in space like a metallic predator, its weapons trained on empty space but ready to target anything that might threaten it. Admiral Kexvan realized that he was looking at the most dangerous thing he had ever encountered. A species that treated warfare as education and every enemy as a teacher. Admiral Kexvan made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He needed to know more about these humans. The sensor data had raised too many questions and provided too few answers. Captain Huang, he said into the communication system, I would like to request permission to send a small delegation aboard your ship. We are interested in learning more about your people and your technology. Captain Huang paused for a moment, then smiled. Of course, Admiral. We would be happy to show you around. When would you like to visit? Immediately, if that is acceptable. Sure thing. We will prepare a docking bay for your shuttle. Admiral Kexvan selected his delegation carefully. He would lead it himself, along with Engineer Prime Zeknoth, Intelligence Analyst Murkoff, and Medical Officer Dalnith. If these humans were as dangerous as the sensor reading suggested, he wanted his best people to see them firsthand. The shuttle flight to the human ship took only a few minutes, but it felt much longer. As they approached the Indomitable, Admiral Kexvan could see the damage and repairs up close. The ship looked like it had been through dozens of battles. Burn marks covered the hull, Armor plates of different colors and compositions had been welded over blast holes. Some sections looked like they had been completely rebuilt using salvaged materials. "It is a miracle this ship can fly," muttered Engineer Prime Zeknoth. The docking bay that received them was large and functional, but crude by Velthari standards. The walls were covered with exposed pipes and cables. Work lights hung from the ceiling on simple chains. Tools and spare parts were stored in metal bins along the walls. Captain Huang was waiting for them as they stepped out of their shuttle. Up close, he looked even more fragile than he had on the communication screen. His skin was pale and soft. His body showed no signs of natural armor or defensive adaptations. He looked like he could be injured by a strong wind. "Welcome aboard the Indomitable," Captain Huang said. "I hope you will find your visit educational." Admiral Kexvan noticed that the human captain spoke much better Galactic Standard in person than he had over the communication system, almost as if he had been pretending to be less capable than he actually was. "Thank you for allowing us aboard," Admiral Kexvan replied. "Your ship is quite impressive," Captain Huang laughed. Impressive is not the word most people use. Terrifying maybe, or insane, but she gets the job done. They were joined by Dr. Kim Na-young, the ship's chief medical officer. She was a small human female with dark hair and bright eyes. Like Captain Huang, she appeared completely fragile and harmless. "Would you like to see our medical facilities first?" Dr. Kim asked. "I think you might find them interesting." They followed her through corridors that looked like they had been carved out of solid metal. The walls were thick and heavily reinforced. Emergency blast doors were positioned every few meters. Everything was designed to survive massive damage and keep functioning. The medical bay was surprisingly advanced, but in a way that made Admiral Kexvan uncomfortable. The equipment looked like it had been designed to treat severe trauma. Radiation poisoning, combat injuries, burns from energy weapons. "We have had to become very good at emergency medicine," Dr. Kim explained cheerfully. "Space can be dangerous, especially when you meet unfriendly neighbors." Medical Officer Dal Neth studied the equipment with professional interest. "Your radiation treatment facilities are quite extensive. Do you encounter high radiation levels often?" "Oh yes," Dr. Kim said. "Our ship systems run pretty hot. Plus we spend a lot of time in combat zones. We have boosted our immune systems and radiation resistance through genetic therapy. Had to, really. Our first ships were basically flying coffins." The casual way she discussed genetic modification shocked the Velthari delegation. Such procedures were highly regulated in the Empire, available only to the military elite. These humans spoke of it as if it were routine medical care. "How long have your people been spacefaring?" asked intelligence analyst Murkoth. "About 200 of our years," Dr. Kim replied. "We started with chemical rockets and worked our way up. We learn fast when we have to. 200 years. The Velthari had been traveling between stars for over 2,000 years. Yet somehow these humans had built a fleet that could challenge the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. They moved on to the ship's data core, where Communications Officer Li Young-ho was waiting for them. He was a young human male with a friendly smile and intelligent eyes. "Admiral Kexvan, Dr. Kim tells me you are interested in our history. I have prepared some files that might help you understand how we got here." The data core was a massive room filled with computer systems that looked like they had been built from salvaged parts. Different types of hardware were connected together with cables and adapters that made Engineer Prime Zeknoth wince. "We are not really inventors," Lieutenant Lee explained as he brought up files on the main display. "We are adapters. You show us something that works, and we will figure out how to make it work better, cheaper, and more dangerously." The files showed humanity's rise through the galaxy, and it was unlike anything the Velthari had seen before. Most spacefaring species developed their technology slowly over thousands of years. They built on their own discoveries and innovations. Humans did not work that way. The records showed their first contact with the Korth Empire. The Korth had been aggressive militarists with powerful ships and advanced weapons. They attacked the human colony of New Geneva with a fleet of 50 warships, expecting easy conquest. The humans had only 5 ships to defend the colony. Old, crude vessels that were no match for Korth technology. The battle should have been over in minutes. Instead, the humans did something unthinkable. They loaded an asteroid mining ship with nuclear explosives and rammed it directly into the Korth flagship. The explosion destroyed both ships, but it also disabled the Korth fleet's command and control systems. "We captured 12 Korth ships that day," Lieutenant Lee explained. Within 6 months, we had figured out how their shield technology worked. Within a year, we had improved it and built it into our own ships. The file showed what happened next. The humans used their new shield technology to attack the main Korth fleet. They won decisively, capturing more ships and more technology. Within 5 years, the Korth Empire had been completely destroyed. But the humans had not stopped there. They had taken everything useful from Korth technology and combined it with their own innovations. Then they had moved on to encounter the next hostile species. The hegemony of suns made the mistake of attacking our trade routes, Lieutenant Lee continued. They had beautiful energy weapons, very advanced. We lost a lot of ships learning how to fight them, but we eventually captured some of their technology. The pattern repeated over and over. 17 different species had made the mistake of attacking humanity. 17 species had provided the humans with new technology to study and improve. Where are these species now? Asked Admiral Kexvan, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. Gone, Lieutenant Lee said simply. We do not like to fight, Admiral. But when someone attacks us, we make sure they cannot do it again. Intelligence analyst Mirkoth was studying the tactical files with growing horror. These records show that you analyze not just enemy technology, but their psychology, their culture, their way of thinking. Of course, Lieutenant Lee replied. Technology is just tools. To really defeat an enemy, you have to understand how they think, what motivates them, what they fear. Then you can predict what they will do and be ready for it. Admiral Kexvan realized that he was looking at something unprecedented in galactic history. The humans were not just warriors or conquerors. They were evolutionary adapters on a cosmic scale. Every conflict made them stronger. Every enemy they defeated added to their capabilities. They had turned warfare itself into a learning experience. Your ship, Admiral Kexvan said slowly, is not just a patrol vessel, is it? Captain Huang, who had been quietly listening to the discussion, smiled. The Indomitable has seen a lot of action, Admiral. She is a combat veteran. But yes, she is just a patrol ship. We have much larger vessels for serious fighting. Much larger vessels. Admiral Kexvan felt the blood drain from his face as he realized what that meant. If this massive, heavily armed ship was considered a mere patrol vessel, what did the human battle fleet look like? The shuttle flight back to the Sovereign's Wrath was silent. Admiral Kexvan sat in his command chair, staring out at the human ship that still hung in space nearby. The Indomitable had returned to its patrol configuration, but now he knew what lay beneath that crude exterior. Engineer Prime Zeknoth was the first to speak. Admiral, what we saw on that ship changes everything. Their technology should not work, but it does. Their engineering should not be possible, but it is. Intelligence analyst Mirkoth was reviewing the data they had collected. Sir, I have analyzed the tactical information they shared with us. These humans have not just defeated 17 species. They have absorbed them. Every technology, every technique, every advantage their enemies possessed is now part of human capability. Medical Officer Dalneth looked troubled. Their casual approach to genetic modification suggests they have been adapting themselves as well as their technology. They may be physically different from what they were when they first entered space. Admiral Kexvan considered what he had learned. The humans claimed to be explorers and traders, not conquerors, but their ship told a different story. It was a vessel designed for war, crewed by people who had learned to see every encounter as a potential source of new knowledge. Admiral, called Communications Officer Velrain from his station. Captain Huang is requesting to speak with you. Put him through. The main screen activated, showing Captain Huang sitting calmly in his command chair. Behind him, his crew went about their duties with the same casual efficiency Admiral Kexvan had observed before. Admiral Kexvan, I hope your visit was educational, Captain Huang said. It was very informative, Captain. Your ship and crew are quite remarkable. Thank you. I wanted to speak with you before we part ways. I sense that you have some concerns about what you discovered during your visit. Admiral Kexvan chose his words carefully. Captain, your people possess capabilities that could be seen as threatening by other civilizations. Captain Huang nodded. I understand your concern. Yes, we are capable of defending ourselves. We have had to become good at it. But Admiral, we are not conquerors. We are explorers. Navigation Officer Han Seung-woo appeared on the screen beside Captain Huang. He activated a star chart that showed the local region of space. Admiral, this chart shows human territory. As you can see, we control a relatively small number of systems. Admiral Kexvan studied the chart. Human space was surprisingly modest, perhaps 50 star systems spread across a region much smaller than Velthari territory. We take what we need to survive and defend ourselves, Officer Han explained. The rest of the galaxy is free to go about its business. We are happy to trade, to share knowledge, to learn from other species. But what about the 17 civilizations you defeated? Asked Admiral Kexvan. Captain Huang's expression grew serious. Those civilizations chose to attack us, Admiral. We did not seek conflict with any of them. But when someone threatens human colonies, threatens human lives, we respond. Decisively. Dr. Kim Na-young joined the conversation. Admiral, we learned early that the galaxy can be a dangerous place. There are species out there who see peaceful civilizations as easy targets. We had to become strong enough to protect ourselves and our allies. Your allies? Yes, Dr. Kim said. We have peaceful relationships with over 30 species. We provide protection and technology in exchange for resources and knowledge. It works well for everyone involved. Admiral Kexvan felt a chill as he realized what the human was describing. They had created a network of client species, all dependent on human protection. It was a form of empire, but one built on mutual benefit rather than conquest. Admiral, Captain Huang continued, I want to be very clear about something. We do not want to fight the Velthari Empire. We would much rather establish trade relationships and learn from each other. But if your empire chooses to see us as a threat to be eliminated, well... He did not finish the sentence, but the implication was clear. Admiral Kexvan remembered the files he had seen, the detailed records of 17 civilizations that had made the mistake of attacking humanity. What are you proposing, Captain? Peaceful contact. Trade agreements. Cultural exchange. We have much to offer, and I am sure the Velthari have knowledge and technology that would benefit both our peoples. Operations Officer Yoon Soo-jin spoke up from her station. Admiral, we have already learned interesting things from our sensor exchanges today. Your ship designs show some innovative approaches to energy distribution that we would like to study further. The casual way she mentioned studying Velthari technology sent another chill through Admiral Kexvan. These humans were already analyzing his ships, looking for new ideas to incorporate into their own designs. And if the Velthari Empire chooses not to pursue peaceful relations? Admiral Kexvan asked. Captain Huang was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm but firm. Admiral, we have gotten very good at learning new things very quickly. We would rather learn from the Velthari as friends and trading partners, but if we have to learn from you as enemies, we will do that too. The threat was politely worded, but it was a threat nonetheless. Admiral Kexvan understood exactly what Captain Huang was telling him. The humans would prefer peace, but they were prepared for war, and if war came, they would study Velthari technology, tactics, and psychology until they found a way to win. I will convey your offer to the Imperial Council, Admiral Kexvan said. Thank you, Admiral. We look forward to hearing from you. The communication ended, leaving Admiral Kexvan alone with his thoughts and his fears. He had come to this system expecting to encounter a primitive species that could be easily conquered or intimidated. Instead, he had found something far more dangerous. Navigator Prime Zilthek approached his command chair. Admiral, what are your orders? Admiral Kexvan stared at the human ship on his screen. The Indomitable was already beginning to move, its crude but effective engines powering up for departure. In a few minutes, it would disappear into hyperspace, carrying its crew of adaptive predators to some other corner of the galaxy. Set course for the Imperial capital, he ordered. Maximum speed. Sir, are we returning to recommend an attack on the humans? No, Admiral Kexvan said quietly. We are returning to recommend immediate diplomatic contact, full ambassadorial exchange, trade agreements, technology sharing treaties, whatever it takes to ensure that humanity sees the Velthari Empire as a friend rather than an enemy. Sir, Admiral Kexvan watched as the human ship began to fade from view, its hybrid drive system carrying it toward hyperspace using technology stolen from 6 different alien civilizations. Because, he said, I have just seen the galaxy's ultimate student. They learn from every encounter, adapt to every challenge, and improve with every conflict. If we try to fight them, they will study us until they find our weaknesses. Then they will build weapons specifically designed to exploit those weaknesses. The Indomitable disappeared into hyperspace, leaving only empty space where it had been. The Velthari Empire has two choices, Admiral Kexavan continued. We can become humanity's allies and trading partners, sharing in their knowledge and protection. Or we can join the long list of species who learned too late that humans are most dangerous when they appear to be losing. What do you think the Imperial Council will decide, sir? Admiral Kexavan thought about the 17 civilizations whose technology now served human purposes. He thought about the casual way the humans had discussed genetic modification, weapons development, and the conversion of peaceful systems into instruments of war. I think, he said slowly, that the Council will make the right choice. Because the alternative is unthinkable. As the Velthari fleet set course for home, Admiral Kexavan began composing his report. It would be the most important document in the history of the Empire. The words he chose could determine whether the Velthari would thrive as humanity's allies or disappear as humanity's enemies. He had seen the future of the galaxy, and it belonged to the species that never stopped learning, the species that had turned survival itself into an art form, the species that the galaxy would come to know as humanity's greatest strength, their ability to adapt, overcome, and emerge from every challenge stronger than before. The age of human dominance had begun, and it would reshape the galaxy forever.